I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch network. We have new updates to report on Special Counsel Jack Smith's criminal investigation. Specifically, let's focus on the new updates we have regarding Special Counsel Jack Smith's criminal investigation into Donald Trump's theft of thousands of government records, including classified records, top secret records, sensitive compartmented information that Donald Trump stole after he left office, and concealed and mutilated and obstructed justice, all at Mar-a-Lago. So here's some of the new updates. CNN is reporting that dozens of Mar-a-Lago staff, from servers to aides, are being subpoenaed in the classified documents probed. Sources are saying that Special Counsel Jack Smith has cast a very wide net, and essentially any server or aide or worker who has any knowledge at all, potentially, about records and records being moved and the way the surveillance cameras works, and just generally about Donald Trump's coming and goings. They are being subpoenaed to speak before the criminal grand jury that's currently impaneled in Washington, D.C. Two of the names we heard before, some of these aides, for example, one of them is Walt Nauta, who was on the surveillance footage. Walt worked at the White House. Was considered kind of a body man for Donald Trump, or a driver for Donald Trump, kind of a gopher for Donald Trump, who then worked at Mar-a-Lago. Walt Nauta was seen carrying the boxes around Mar-a-Lago after Donald Trump received a subpoena from the criminal grand jury in Washington, D.C., ostensibly trying to hide these boxes and hide the documents. So Walt Nauta is one of the person who's spoken with the criminal grand jury. Also, Margot Martin, who was a White House press assistant in the Trump administration. She followed Donald Trump to Florida and worked there for Donald Trump in Mar-a-Lago. One of the things that I wonder about Margot Martin, although this hasn't been confirmed anywhere, remember when we heard about that aide who may have downloaded classified information and classified schedules on a laptop? I wonder if that is Margot Martin, kind of putting the dots and connecting the dots here together. It seems like that's a strong possibility, but I have not yet confirmed that, although I am working sources to try to confirm that as well. But again, dozens and dozens of aides and staffers are being subpoenaed. So that's one big update I want to report. The next big update I want to report is that Special Counsel Jack Smith is very focused on a specific phone call that Donald Trump and his lawyer Evan Corcoran had on June 24th of 2022. This was the same day that the Department of Justice subpoenaed surveillance footage from Mar-a-Lago. This was 2 or 3 weeks after the Department of Justice top counterintelligence official went to Mar-a-Lago, met with Evan Corcoran and Christina Bobb, and Bobb signed an attestation under oath stating that but for the 38 documents that were being turned over with classified markings in a red weld sealed legal folder, after a diligent search, there was no other classified information or top secret information or sensitive compartmented information at Mar-a-Lago based on the information that was told to her, ostensibly by Evan Corcoran and Donald Trump. Of course, that was a lie, because on August 8th, when a search warrant was ultimately executed at Mar-a-Lago by the Department of Justice, they very, very quickly found thousands of government records, including over 100 classified records there. And so we are learning that the DOJ is very focused on that phone call, because one of the things you'll recall is that the Department of Justice has argued to a federal judge that is presiding over the grand jury proceedings in Washington, D.C., that Evan Corcoran should not be permitted to use the attorney-client privilege, which establishes complete confidentiality in the communications between an attorney and their client from the public and from the government and from any third party. The Department of Justice is saying that attorney-client privilege should not apply based on the crime fraud exception. One, a crime has been taking place, obstruction of justice, concealment, and mutilation of documents, and these communications are in furtherance of the crime. Evan Corcoran previously testified before the criminal grand jury in Washington, D.C., investigating Donald Trump's theft of records, and Evan Corcoran asserted attorney-client privilege regarding his communications with Donald Trump, as well as his efforts to locate documents at Mar-a-Lago. And special counsel Jack Smith has said, absolutely not. You should not be able to assert attorney-client privilege for that. One, I doubt that there's even a privilege regarding the efforts that you took to locate documents. And in any event, the crime fraud exception applies here as well. So that's regarding Evan Corcoran and the updates there. And then finally, there is another lawyer's name who's now being talked about in connection with special counsel Jack Smith's criminal investigation. And this is a lawyer who was defending Donald Trump or doing work for Donald Trump in connection with Fani Willis, the Fulton County District Attorney's criminal investigation before the special grand jury there. This lawyer's name is Jennifer Little. And so it's really unclear why Jennifer Little has testified before the grand jury. And Jennifer Little has also, I believe, asserted attorney-client privilege, and special counsel Jack Smith, just like with Evan Corcoran, has filed a motion to compel regarding Jennifer Little and compel her testimony under the crime fraud exception. Given that she's worked in Georgia, it's unclear what the relationship is there about the Mar-a-Lago stolen documents by Donald Trump, but her name is now in the mix here as well. So I think some pretty big updates there. Remember, update 1, dozens of witnesses from Mar-a-Lago being subpoenaed by special counsel Jack Smith, appearing to testify before the criminal grand jury there. A very important phone call on June 24th, 2022, on the same day as the subpoena that was sent by the Department of Justice to Donald Trump and Mar-a-Lago for surveillance footage is being focused on by special counsel Jack Smith. More motions to compel are being filed, as we know before, the one about Evan Corcoran, now one about Jennifer Little, and then also the name Margot Martin, the White House press assistant who appeared before the criminal grand jury. So all of this spells that Jack Smith is appropriately getting more aggressive here. Jack Smith is moving diligently in that case, and I think we are going to see a lot more action there in the coming weeks. And so we will keep you posted, of course, as we learn more here on the MeidasTouch network. Now, I guess some people are speculating, and I've seen this on some social media. How did the government know about Evan Corcoran's documents? And how did they know about the phone calls, for example, and that these phone calls took place? Well, it's possible they asked him about the phone call, and he said, we had a call on this date because that's not privileged. And then they asked, can you describe what took place in the phone call? And he asserted the privilege, which if there wasn't a crime fraud exception or some other exception, he could validly assert the attorney-client privilege. And so special counsel Jack Smith saying, no, you got to tell us what's actually going on in that phone call. There isn't an attorney-client privilege. Or it's possible that they just got the phone records through other subpoenas, whether it's a subpoena from Mar-a-Lago or a subpoena for someone else in Trump's inner circle, and they saw that a phone call was made on that day, and that's why they are focused there. But look, special counsel Jack Smith is known as being a very aggressive prosecutor. And a very good prosecutor. And so, as I've always said about Jack Smith, he's going to dot every I and cross every T. And that's absolutely what we see happening here. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Do me a favor, hit subscribe. We're on our way to 1 million subscribers thanks to your incredible support. So please hit subscribe. Help us march to 1 million subscribers in the month of March. How great would that be? So it's free to subscribe on our YouTube. So just go to YouTube, hit subscribe. We will be very grateful for that. Also, check us out wherever you get your audio podcast. Just search MeidasTouch Podcast and hit subscribe and leave a 5-star review about our podcast there. And also, if you've got a Patreon, just search patreon.com/MeidasTouch. If you don't got a Patreon, if you want to sign up for our Patreon, go to patreon.com/MeidasTouch and become a member. Until next time, I'm Ben Meiselas. Thank you so much for watching. All right, now hit subscribe on YouTube. It's free.
The best part of waking up? Magateers in my cup. Check out the new Magateers mug available now at store.MeidasTouch.com. That's store.MeidasTouch.com. It's 100% union made right here in the USA. I know I'm not tired of winning yet. How about you? Get yours today.